AGD, another great day. Just showing you the setting before we begin. Right? Worldwide movement. Peace, love, respect. Big King Sadiq hollering at you one more again. Welcome, as I said, AGD to another great day. Beautiful day indeed. Not consistently sunny. It was actually quite sunny earlier. But right now it's kind of overcast, but it's cool and calm and chill on the Father's Day edition. Happy Father's Day to all the fathers out there. This is the Father's Day edition of Buildin with Big King, episode number 4 and season number 3. Welcome you all. Thank you for helping me to build a worldwide movement. Peace, love, respect. Please continue to help me do so by making sure that you like, share, subscribe, and click the notification button. Really helps us to get the algorithm moving in our favor and make sure that we're pushing this out to more and more folks. So please do like, share, and subscribe. Plus, click the notification bell, right? Thank you so much. I love you all, and I appreciate you. There is no movement without you. Thank you. All right. So, it's Father's Day edition again. I say happy Father's Day to all the fathers out there. Um, I was even earlier given Happy Father's Year. It was magnificent, as we will see a resurgence for acknowledgement, appreciation, uh, and cooperation with the fathers this year, as we will see in accordance with that, the fathers take great strides in doing even more uh, to be there for their tribes in all the ways in which they are needed, right? Uh, because overall, we're going to see this year, as we are needed and have needed to see, we're going to begin to see the realization that we need not have men versus women. That's not the goal here. We need to get men and women back in cooperation with one another, particularly in these uh, families, and even in opportunities or situations in which there's co-parenting. Um, it needs to be just that, right? The co is sort for cooperation, right? And we got to have more and more of that, and we will. And we will, because more and more people are becoming enlightened. I'm seeing that on both sides of the fence, which there need not be a fence anymore. Those are artificial lines of separation that, through social engineering, the socially economic elite have ingrained into us, right? These different social triggers that get us to always start to think negatively of the opposite sex. When really, first of all, folks, the folly in any sort of prejudice, whether it be between sexes, races, in whatever lines you want to draw, social classes, right? Prejudice means you're prejudging someone. First of all, there's too much judgment in the first place. We need to stop judging one another. And second of all, when you lump people together like that, you've prejudged everyone and just lumped everyone into a group as though they are all the same person, right? When we're all individuals. So judge people on individual merit, right? Or don't judge them at all, but appreciate and assess them on individual merit. All right. But yeah, we need to, and we'll see a lot more cooperation between men and women this year, as we should. And the energy is right for that. So let's take advantage of that. When I say the energy, I mean where we're at right now in our solar system's orbit around the center of the galaxy. This particular area uh, or sector or section or this astrological house, right, um, carries certain characteristics that are descriptive of the energies that not only the sun is bombarded with, but the sun in turn relates to the planets, and that the planets themselves are even engulfed in. So that certainly includes this planet and its effect. Pardon me. Thank you. Gotta stay hydrated. High vibrational frequency, multi-dimensional divine water, right? Um, but yeah, and its effect on the planet and all the inhabitants of the planet, particularly human beings, in that these energies particularly foster higher consciousness. They foster evolution into higher consciousness. So, with this opportunity, that spurs along what we are calling and recognize as the Great Mass Awakening, right? This is not something that's just esoteric, folks. This is scientific in nature. It's a matter of whether or not you choose to study it, right? Um, there are some areas or some segments of the mainstream scientific community that give acknowledgement to some aspects of this, but that needs to grow, you know? And there needs to be an integration and an acknowledgement between the mainstream scientific community and the metaphysical community. That is something we also, also need to see happen, and will, and will, as we are surging powerfully forward in this new paradigm, each and every day cementing more and more. And along with that, we're seeing a lot more people awakening, right? And a lot of people, and when we say awakening, folks, a lot of this is simply us becoming aware of what was already there in the first place, right? Um, but that was shrouded either in um, purposeful subterfuge orchestrated by the socially economic elite, right? And their web secret society, so to speak, as part of the global cabal of globalists and depopulationists, right? Um, all right, thank you. I appreciate that. I have a happy Father's Day to all the fathers out there and for all the mothers and women who acknowledge the fathers. We appreciate that truly, um, and we appreciate again that spirit, that energy of cooperation coming back between men and women. We don't need to be at war with each other. We should not be at war with one another. There should be, first of all, unconditional love amongst all people, all beings, all energy, everything that exists. Anywhere there's consciousness and intelligence, we should respect it, right? And we should respect certainly each and every human being on the planet. And there needs to be that growing between men and women. You know, that is important. And we will see that. We're starting to see that. And that's a beautiful thing that will continue to grow as we surge powerfully forward in this magnificent year that is going to be one of increased illumination, as we're already seeing. Um, Take, for example, disclosure, right? look no further than the Spielberg movie Disclosure Day, which is in, if nothing else, very interesting timing with where we know things are going forward. Let's see, trance music vibes. Oh no, what's that? I don't know. But thank you for the Happy Father's Day. Truly means a lot, right? Um, but yeah, where we're at right now with disclosure is the wide spreadingness on different levels. We have to understand, folks, with this awakening in general, everyone is not um, sort of on the same level, which is fine. That's beautiful, and just a nod to the diversity of humanity and humanity's spiritual maturation. Everybody's never been exactly on the same level and shouldn't be. That's fine. Um, we should benefit from the sharing of wisdom, right? And also, that goes up the scale as the elders benefit from the energy and inspiration of youth. See, there's another line of separation that's got to stop between generations. We need cooperation between generations to grow and will. As and as I just stated, the youth benefit from the wisdom of the elders, right? Um, and the elders benefit from the inspiration and energy of the youth, the vitality of the youth. It's a beautiful exchange that should happen, just like there should be a cooperation and a beautiful symbiosis, really, between men and women. Um, and this is not to down or discredit or say anything even negative about anybody else or any other community. There's not Just because you lift one up doesn't mean you have to down another. We should stop thinking in those terms, I should suggest as well. That because you uplift someone doesn't mean you are automatically downing someone else, right? To say that, you want to uplift anyone, let's say men, for example. Let's say you want to uplift men, particular fathers, this being Father's Day. Doesn't mean you're downing mothers or women. That's silly, immature thinking that we have to stray away from. It's divisive thinking, right? When we need to uplift mothers and fathers and the family unit. And we will. Again, it's more of a part of this awakening. But anyway, like I was touching on briefly with Disclosure Day by Spielberg, the movie, very interesting. I went to go and see it. Um, and by the way, some of us have been familiar with that, all the content covered in there pretty much for like a long time. I'm speaking of myself, certainly, and many others I know of for like decades. But that's just the nature of it. If you haven't taken the time or had the inclination to do that kind of research into it, um, you wouldn't, which is fine. But now we're in a time where I don't want to say people don't have a choice, but you're kind of faced with some hard realities, right? It's no longer a conspiracy theory or uh, uh, something that is the figment of someone's imagination or somebody's crazy or anything of that nature, that there are UFOs, right? Okay, that are of, and when I say UFOs, I mean unidentified flying objects, or also referred to as UAPs, right? Or unidentified aerial phenomenon, both of which can be of two different categories, either extraterrestrial, meaning not of this planet, um, or extra dimensional, right? Meaning of another dimensional state or vibrational frequency threshold. Um, so that being something that is even openly discussed and debated on the floors of Congress. Um, and there are even things that have been released and acknowledgments directly from the Pentagon, who say they even have a lot more to come soon. So um, a lot of folks, whether they have actually come to this realization or not, or prepared to deal with this sort of, like I said, hard reality, are going to be, um, for lack of a better description, forced to, right? Because you really would be putting yourself in a fantasy world if you see it at the highest levels now openly acknowledged and still say, no, no, they're just making it up. Well, there may be very well, may be a whole lot of stuff that gets made up, and that could come from the highest levels too. I understand that sentiment. But the overwhelming evidence, if you just open your eyes and do the free thinking independent research, um, and again, this is not downing anybody, but if you do the free thinking independent research, it's not even close. Like, there's not even a shadow of a doubt. First of all, the premise anyway is illogical, that given the numbers and ratios that one could consider in terms of potentials where life would exist in the universe, that there would be one planet out of an infinitesimal and not infinitesimal and unending, immeasurable number of planets that exist and could potentially harbor life, even life very similar to what is here on this planet. It's just not logical. Um, Even to think or suggest that, understanding that there's likely many such planets and there's likely life on many of those such planets, it is similarly illogical to think that all of those and all life on all planets have evolved at exactly the same times in the same rate, right? Even if it was the same rate, to think that they were at the same exact times is sort of illogical. That is to say that there would logically be some civilizations that would be much further ahead than others, including our own. So those civilizations would likely have capabilities and technologies regarding travel that would be, compared to our own, or what is known of our own scientific capabilities, miraculous in comparison. So, at this point, it's just about a matter of logic and acceptance of what is um, evidentiary, right? With that being said, there are a lot of experiences related to that a lot of people may or may not have an increasing number in the coming months, not to mention years. Um, and I say all that to sort of prelude that I would say it's very much paramount that we have a great deal not only of understanding and compassion, but open-mindedness and acceptance of individuals, even if they prove to be later on to be erroneous or uh, uh, inauthentic or less than genuine or plain old fake, whatever way you want to say it. Like, I know there's a lot of things that come out on TikTok, right? And there may be a lot of, and I'm not naming TikTok for any specific reason. I'm just randomly choosing them from any list of social media platforms. But there may be a lot of things potentially on TikTok, for example, for random example, uh, that may not be authentic. But then again, who's to say there's not a certain percentage that is indeed authentic, even if it is shocking and paradigm challenging within your own perception, right? Remember, belief does not dictate fact or fiction, right? Because you believe something is real, especially if your belief system has been externally programmed, which unfortunately that is the result of social engineering and years of it. We get these layers and layers and layers, right, of indoctrination as we sort of grow up in a society that is manipulated uh, into a social engineering tool of the socially economic elite cabal. But that's just giving better understanding of the workings of what was. What is what we're creating now, right? And that is a new paradigm where so many people are awakening to all of this. Listen, 30 years ago, what I'm saying right now, people would be like, what in the world? But now, most individuals have some familiarity or understanding, or recognition of what I'm saying, right? That is because of the drastic increase of individuals willing to do free thinking, independent research. Even though life is difficult and they make it more and more of an economic grind on folks, the curiosity and the need to know and understand what and why, more importantly, the why, right, um, is driving people, and it's also symptomatic or symbolic of what is taking place in us in this mass awakening or evolution into higher consciousness, right? So all of these things are moving forward and may do so at an increasing pace. So you may see more and more people saying things or exhibiting things or even having pleas of wanting to be heard about something that they think is important. Don't necessarily just assume that they're crazy or that there's some kind of conspiracy theorist who's giving some fake bullcrap. They might be, or they might not be. So use impartial discernment and then apply your own free thinking, independent research, and you'll know for sure what's what. Not saying that you got to just jump down every rabbit hole. In fact, I'm not suggesting that. But when something resonates with you or gives you that little curious itch, go ahead and do a little deep diving, right? Um, because there's likely something there. All right. So that's the energy that we're in right now, folks, and that's what I wanted to touch on today as we had this Father's Day edition. I'm not going to be taking a lot of time, taking folks away from their loved ones during this Father's Day as we do embrace family time and fathers. There's nothing wrong with celebrating fathers, folks. I happen to be a father and a grandfather. Uh, uh, Grateful for being both, truly grateful, and love my children and grandchildren beyond measure, right? So Yeah, man. Let's celebrate Fathers and Father's Day. Everybody know that we're surging powerfully forward in a good way. In a good way. So embrace that and celebrate that. And let's celebrate and embrace one another. Let's have a little bit more patience, compassion, and open mindedness with one another. Let's talk about it, man. Right? Let's sit down and talk about it. We can vibe for a minute and work it out. Most things with a little bit of patience and slowing down for a second and being able to apply a little bit of wisdom, right? Sometimes we get real smart. They say there's a difference between book smarts and wisdom, and indeed there is. Uh, some of us, you know, are fortunate and adept at acquiring both. Some of us may resonate more toward one or the other. That's all right. But let's have understanding and acceptance of one another and enough appreciation for one another that we can actually teach one another and grow and off of what we share with one another, right? Um, Come on now, humanity. It's time for us to get it together. It really is. I've been saying that for a long time. And it's really paramount now that we understand we don't have time to waste on these artificial lines of division that have been imposed upon us by the socially economic elite. We just don't have the time to waste with it no more. There's chemtrails over some of the most affluent neighborhoods the same way in most cities, this is the case, over affluent neighborhoods the same way they're over some of the most impoverished neighborhoods. Now, what's that about? I told you what it's about. It's about that same mission statement, that, so to speak, I'm paraphrasing, that was expressed to you through the Georgia Guidestones by these very same socially economic elite. Folks, they didn't waste time like having uh, monolithic granite tablets, or I believe granite was the stone that was used. It was some expensive stone. I could be wrong. Um, Erected with these messages and sort of points of their mission statements, so to speak. Again, I'm paraphrasing. And right at the top of that was their, vision to see the world population at no greater than 500 million folks. Do the math. If you subtract 500 million from today's population of over I'm saying million, I mean to say billion with a B, like boy, uh, subtract 500 million from a total population of over 8 billion on the planet currently, you're talking about over 7.5 billion people that, in their estimation, need not be on and should not be on the planet living. So, you know, let's understand who we're dealing with. Let's, be adult enough and mature enough to say, look, the enemy of my enemy is my friend, if that's the way you need to look at it. Understand the wisdom of what Dr. Spock, I like to say, always used to drop on us. Um, the needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few. And let's stop living in the paradigm where the energy, the blood, sweat, the tears, the effort, the intent, the consent of the many are constantly going to feed the whims, the wishes, the embellishments, and the overindulgences of the few. That's backwards, right? Back in the day, we used to like to say that's bass backwards, if you get my drift. And we got to stop living like that. And we are. So be celebratory of that. Be celebratory of the family unit. There's nothing wrong with that. And certainly nothing wrong with celebrating fathers. Again, happy Father's Day. I love you all. Worldwide movement, peace, love, respect. Big King Sadiq asking that you do keep moving this forward and out to more and more people. Like, share, subscribe, and click on the notification button. All my creative works go to growing the movement. Please buy my books, music. Check out my podcasts, lectures, interviews, everything I'm doing on rumble.com. There's links to everything right on this YouTube channel, right? Just click where it says 7 more links. Everything will drop down. If you want to make a donation, you can do that directly to my Cash App. That's very much appreciated and needed, and you can um, uh, appreciate it more than you know. And you can do that again directly to my Cash App. It's, I believe, the last of the links in the drop down. Um, but thank you all. I love you all tremendously. We're doing it. We're moving forward, spreading this awareness, right? Why do I focus so much on awareness? Before I go, why do I hey, why do I focus so much on awareness and the need for spreading awareness, right? Because no matter what struggle you may be in, you have no opportunity for success if you don't first understand that struggle, right? You, I heard somebody say you can't win a war that you don't know you're in. Okay, so that's why I believe that it is paramount. A couple of reasons why I believe it is paramount for us to understand and spread as much awareness, understand what's been happening in the world and what we need to change, because we are changing it and we'll continue to change it moving forward. We will continue as a collective to spiritually mature in the higher consciousness. It's already way past the precipice of whether or not we're doing it. We already are doing it. We have been doing it, and we will do it further still. And that is emblematic of a paradigm shift into this new paradigm we're cementing in now, one that exhibits, that exudes the founding principles, those building foundations. You get it? You're built with Big King, the new paradigm of peace, love, respect. All right. I love you all. I thank you all. Worldwide movement. Peace, love, respect. Big King Sadiq. I'm out. I gotta get my music back here for y'all on my exits.